Hi, I'm Charlotte. Merry Christmas. Welcome to my MWAH year. If this is your first video, I wanted to try and post something on Christmas Day to help anyone who has a feed full of Christmas hauls or is feeling the urge to buy something because it's the holidays, because it's Christmas, and I wanted to share what I do when I feel the urge to shop. I have a lot of different ideas for people. Obviously, as we know, I'm starting January 1st, but I have in the past year I did a month where I didn't buy anything, so I have some experience, and then also this is just like what I'm planning on doing in the upcoming year. To begin, I got this idea when I was reading MWAH, which if you have some issues with shopping, I think it's a great book to read, and aside from that, I think it's a great book to read. It is about a woman who, amongst other things, I mean, she's a serial cheater, but she ruins her family's life because of her financial decisions. It's interesting because like in modern day, people so easily ruin their lives because they're trying to buy what the people they watch online have. They're trying to become a fantasy version of themselves by consuming things that this person would have, and she does the same thing because she's an avid reader and she wants to be like the people she reads about. So it was very interesting. It was very eye-opening, and if you want to scare yourself a little into behaving right, that is a good place to start. The second thing I do if you are feeling the urge to shop and you know you have a shopping problem is watch some financial podcasts where they talk about or talk to people who are in debt, and you will be, again, scared straight. I typically am not the kind of person who thinks that fear should drive any decisions. But if you're really like about to click buy on something, you know it's not what's best for you. Watching people who have done that and seeing where they have turned out can remind you that you have set yourself these goals for a reason, and sometimes that's helpful. Be careful though, because sometimes it's a little predatory, some of the people who do these podcasts. So make sure it's someone whose morals you believe in. Face the reality of what you own. And this can be really hard, because sometimes it's easier to keep things very organized so it doesn't feel as overwhelming. But if you're about to purchase something, sometimes what I do is say I want to purchase a lipstick. You can put all your lipsticks out in front of you, and visually seeing the amount that you have collected and thinking, does it really make sense to add another item to this pile? Give you the reality check that you need, because when you're looking online and you're thinking, oh, I'll just purchase this one thing or this two things, you can compartmentalize everything you own in a way that justifies a purchase. But when you see everything you own in front of you, there's no escaping the reality of the situation. It's also just kind of a nuisance. Like if you have to pull everything out of its different components, and I really mean that, like for lipsticks, you have to go through your purses, maybe your side table, maybe you have a box somewhere, you know, you have to pull everything. By the time you're done with that, maybe you just are tired and maybe that's a strategy in and of itself. And so that kind of brings me to the next point, which is if I'm talking about my favorite things. In the past, if I was watching someone who was talking about their favorite things, I felt, and I still feel, such a strong urge to buy exactly what they're talking about because I want to feel that way about something. But it doesn't transfer that way, right? Like someone who is so excited and happy about something, if I buy that same thing, I'm not going to feel that same emotion. You have to develop those feelings about things that you genuinely love. So I want to encourage you, if I post a video, if someone else posts a video, and you feel the urge to shop, to think about the why behind why they like something. So I want to explain this a little better. For example, if I'm talking about a dress I love, and I am saying I love the color. Okay, maybe you can go into your closet and find a dress that you love the color of on you, right? It doesn't have to be the color I love. It doesn't have to be the dress I love, but you can love the same thing with something you already own. So maybe for a blush, that means I love how smoothly it applies. What's something in your collection that you love because it applies smoothly? And you can put it on at the same time I'm talking about the one I love. But it doesn't have to be the exact same thing. You can find qualities that I'm talking about that you have on your own. I hope that makes sense. And I think that going forward, if I'm talking about anything that I own, I really encourage you to use that mindset. In a similar vein, again, I feel like makeup is just my biggest issue, so I'm gonna focus on that. But if you're watching a makeup tutorial or a yearly favorites or anything about makeup, the urge to have the same products is so strong. And that's what I'm currently finding right now. Like with yearly roundups, I'm desperate to get these same exact things. What I'm doing instead is, let me give you a practical example. I saw Hannah Louise Poston talking about those glittery eyeshadows she has, and I wanted to go out and buy the exact same ones so I could feel that excitement. Instead, I went into my makeup collection and I found a glittery eyeshadow of my own, and I tried to remind myself that the effect and the experience is the magical aspect. It's not the exact item. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that next time you're seeing someone talk about something, you remember that the emotions won't transfer and you have to build that on your own. You have to create a look that makes you feel beautiful, and then you'll feel so fondly about this item. You have to use it enough that you really know it. So that's my advice there. Another option, if you're feeling really like you have to purchase something, is to do a deep dive into the brand you're considering purchasing from. Oftentimes, if you do a little bit of research, you'll recognize that they are not ethically or morally aligned with yourself, and that can be a big deterrent. So sometimes I find myself wanting something and then I look at the brand and they're not cruelty free. But if I still am like, oh, but maybe an exception, go even further. Research what animal testing looks like and remind yourself that, is that a bigger issue than having this one item? And the majority of the time, if you put yourself through the research and look into what is actually happening when you purchase this product, you can combat that urge. But it doesn't have to be with makeup. With clothes, if you're looking at something, off the top of my head, I can't think of a specific brand, but if you're looking at a t-shirt and you do a little research into the brand, where is it being sourced from? And then you can go and research what the conditions of working there would look like. And that can be enough to deter you. And I would really put the time into figuring out where exactly this item comes from and if that's something you're comfortable supporting. And oftentimes, the item doesn't look as special anymore when you realize what has happened to allow you to possess it. Another tip is, if you want to buy something, there's probably, if you're watching this, a part of you that knows you shouldn't. And sometimes it's easy to justify, like I said, your collection because it makes sense to you. You love that thing. Say eyeshadow palettes. Say you have 30 eyeshadow palettes, but to you it makes sense because this one has neutrals, this one has colors, this one has shine, whatever. You can justify it because it's something you know and love. I recommend watching a video of someone who has an equal or greater size collection of an item that doesn't make sense to you to collect. For me, Labubu's or Stanley's, like I can see that and think, oh my gosh, why do they have 20 Stanley cups? That's absurd, that's so wasteful, blah 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 blah. I'm doing the same thing, it just makes sense to me because I can justify it. So watching a video of someone who's collecting something that doesn't make sense to you can remind you what it looks like on the outside looking in on you, right? And you kind of have to take a step back and think, is this actually an acceptable amount to own, or am I justifying it? Seeing it from the outside in can really make you think, and it can give you enough of a pause to maybe take a step back from pressing yes on the cart or from going to the store, whatever it may be. Another tip, this is maybe a little bit more long term, but if you know you have a problem with shopping, I plan on putting some items aside to rediscover. I have a big enough collection that I can hide some things, come back in a few months, and be excited about all these items that I get to use again. And you can do the same thing with a closet, right? Like you can put some items aside in a box, and then if you're feeling the urge to buy, you can go through and look through all these things that you already own but you have been separated for a little while. And that can be really exciting. And so I highly recommend that. The last thing I wanted to talk about was another idea for a series that I had thought about doing, which is whenever new releases come out, I'm going to want to at some point talk about the things that I wish I could buy. And in its place, I was thinking of showing the product I wish I could buy and then using something that I already own that I think is comparable and explaining why I think it could even be better. And I wanted to know if that's something that could be helpful to anyone else, or if I should just do that on my own time. Speaking of that, I did want to ask if people would be interested in a declutter series. I don't know how my audience feels about that, and now there's over 1,000 of you, which, don't get me started, I have been very emotional about that. I have dreamed of doing YouTube since I was about 12, and it's massive for me. I'm so honored and thankful. If people be interested in a declutter series, obviously I'm very aware that my audience is full of people who are going through the same thing as me, and sometimes declutter videos can make you want to buy things that I talk about fondly, but I also want to be able to talk about things I own and like reignite that love for myself. So I'm trying to balance that. I'm trying to be really cognizant of my audience and aware that the people who are watching this are in a similar space to me, and I don't want anyone feeling like I'm pushing stuff on them, when in reality I'm just trying to take the time to learn myself and my collection and the items I own better. So let me know your thoughts on that. I know that for the next week, how many days? 6 days, it's going to be tough not to fall into the last minute stockpiling mindset. It's going to be tough not to fall into the Christmas sales, and I just urge you to try some of these tips. My number one option for you is to look at what you already have and try to be re-inspired by it and see where that takes you. But if things are not going so well, maybe you can drop in the comments like what it is that you're trying not to buy, and someone might be able to talk you out of it. That could be a good strategy too. So I will see you soon. Let me know what video you would like from me next. I'm thinking I'm going to do the introduction to my project pan, and I'm really excited about that. A lot of people had recommended that I start that, so I'm obviously listening to you guys, and I will be as soon as I get back to the States, which will be in a few days. So I will see you then, and again, thank you so much. You are making my dreams come true. Bye. See you in the next one.